Welcome back to another video, guys. Today I'm going to be going over a strategy that I have that I've been using over and over on these different coins to be able to potentially make anywhere from a 5 to 10x. I've been doing this really well on a bunch of different tokens, and I'm just going to show you guys 7 coins today where you can actually execute this strategy on. And we're going to play it out in real time and come back to this video in a few weeks and see our performance and see how we've done. But the whole point of the video is, one, to show you how to do this strategy so you can actually execute it properly, and as well so you can keep an eye on these 7 coins and watch this pan out. So me showing you guys this video does not mean to buy these coins. It does not mean to do anything else besides put them on your watch list and get prepared for when these dips come, because on these massive red days, on these massive red candles, there's a lot of opportunity, and it directly correlates to where we see the markets of Solana on. If we see Solana drop 25% in one day, we're going to see a massive correction on these coins, and there's going to be great opportunity. The first thing I'm going to be going over is the strategy, right? What is the strategy? Well, in very simple form, I'm going to be showing you guys Fred as an example. So we're going to pull up Fred, which is a token that is directly correlated to the price of Peanut. Fred is the convicted raccoon that a lot of people have been obviously talking about over the past month or so, which has gone super viral for the sole reason of it being in the Peanut family. Okay, so here we have Fred, and here's the chart. As you guys can see, Fred has ran up to $300 million around a few weeks ago. And where that puts us at now is where you see this massive correction. We see a rebirth in mindshare and even more speculation as that Binance listing occurred on Peanut. We obviously saw a really big bounce on Fred for more speculation that Fred would potentially be listed on exchanges, or that Peanut would be crossing multi-billions, which it did. And then we saw another correction as there's been less speculation. And this is when we see the distribution period. This is when we see more holders come in. This is when we see the community grow. This is when we see the community get stronger. And as we can see, as more tokens are being listed on centralized exchanges, we saw Moodang, we saw MOG get listed on Coinbase. There's even more speculation about Fred being potentially one of these next coins to be listed on Binance, as it is a very low market cap token to be listed on Binance. People are speculating that as Peanut continuously, and the play with Fred is that it does have that support for being pegged to Peanut. So we're not going to see Fred run completely to zero, because Fred obviously has built the stability around this $50 million resistance line, which it's held very well. It looks like it's very strong, but the community is rallying. The community is holding on to Fred as a longer term play. So you don't really see too many people trading Fred. You don't really see too many people buying into Fred to make a quick flip. And that's a great thing, right? We see Fred as one of these stronger communities that people are going to hold on to. And these are the type of tokens that we want to buy. And these are the type of tokens that we actually want to execute. And on these dips here is when we want to accumulate. This is when we want to start buying some more Fred on these really red days where there's maybe FUD or there's maybe some uncertainty on the price action. But we always see Fred bounce back up because, again, it has that correlation support to Peanut, which is why it's in my opinion, one of those safer tokens that you can buy into and hold for the long term. And what we want to do here with Fred is, again, find it at that support level from anywhere to 50 to 60 million, which it keeps bouncing off of. And this is when we want to start accumulating, right? So we want to buy Fred when it hits these levels. Once we see Solana have a really red candle, which it's possible that in one day Solana can have a 10% correction to the downside, we're going to see Fred have a big dip. And these are the times when we want to start buying some more Fred. Again, this entire strategy plays and pans out off the thesis that we're going to continuously see a bull run, and we're going to continuously see an uptrend in all the majors, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. So this is what this strategy completely plays off of. We want to buy on the red days. And I'm going to pull up another token which this strategy applies to. And some of you guys are going to laugh at the token ticker, but this is Fartcoin. Fartcoin is the same thing. It's had a lot of strength. It has a really big community. It has a lot of whale holders. Fartcoin has recently had some very red days. And we see that it's at this $150 million resistance line where there's support that we've seen it bounce off of. Fartcoin is another one of these coins that if we see upside on Solana, right? If Solana has a 5%, 10% green day, then we're going to see Fartcoin move up 20, 30%. And this is just going to happen. If you guys want to swing trade this, you guys are more than free to, but Fartcoin is one of those projects that you can ape into with size, with proper risk management, which means that you want to set a stop loss at a level that you feel comfortable with. But we want to buy into Fartcoin at these levels. This is when we want to start dollar cost averaging on the way down, when there's FUD and when there's uncertainty, and when people are asking on the timeline why it's dropping. This is when you want to buy. You don't want to buy into tokens that are dipping and everyone is saying buy the dip, this is the dip, this is the dip that you have to buy. or we're going to hold strong. You don't want to buy into tokens like that. You want to buy into tokens that have that established community, that have that established chart, and they have a little bit of longevity. This 1 month and 15 days old. It has a little bit more longevity than some of these other tokens. And these are the levels that we want to buy into. And we can see this pan out a couple days from now. We are going to see green to the upside, right? If we buy into a 30% gain, that's very easy to happen, right? All we need is a little bit of a liquidity injection, some new holders coming in, and maybe some institutions buying in, as I believe that Fartcoin is going to continue being listed on more bigger exchanges. 30% to the upside is very probable. This can happen within one day, and this is just all dependent on if Solana has one green candle, we are going to see this upside. So imagine you're coming in with $10,000 to Fartcoin, and if you have proper risk management, right, you are going to be able to have a pretty good risk to reward ratio on these tokens. And this is what I'm saying here. This is free money. This is easy money for anyone to properly execute. As long as you're not being an idiot, as long as you're not going to sleep overnight and not setting a stop loss, anything can happen where this can drop 20% to the downside. And then on the same day, it bounces back up another 20%. You have to have your proper strategy in place, and you can't be paper handing these things when they drop 10, 20%, because you have your plan entering into this trade. Now, whether you're using my strategy, whether you're using my thesis, it's all up to you. So the next token I want you guys to look at as we're trying to catch these dips to the downside so we can have a better risk to reward ratio as we're buying into them is Bully. Bully had a great dip today. I actually wanted to buy into Bully on the dip. I ended up buying into some other lower market cap tokens, which ended up playing well. But Bully was another one of these tokens that it had a really red day for the past couple of days, and it just kept dipping. And we see positive sentiment on Twitter. We see people talking about it. It still has mindshare. It's a great token that has great fundamentals, and those fundamentals never changed. So seeing this token go to the downside like this was just a risk-free trade in my head to be able to get in around this $83 million range, which is where I wanted to buy in. And if I would have done that, I would have seen upside on the same day. Within a couple of hours, I would have seen a 70% gain if we were to sell directly at the top. Now, imagine going into that with size, right? Making 80% in 8 hours. You can't do that in any other market. You're not doing that with stocks. You're not doing that with anything else. So instead of throwing $10,000 at Tesla and taking a risk on that end, you can get into trades like these where you have a really great risk to reward ratio and you don't have to hold for months. These are swing plays. Now, again, if you want to get into Bully with a longer term thesis, if you want to write it up for that 5x, that's all up to you. That's within your own line of conviction. You have to develop those factors in your head, and you have to have the proper reasoning on why you would want to hold it for that 5x. And you have to be able to list out those points on why you believe it's going to hit that 5x. Because if you don't have those lines of thesis, and if you don't have those factors that are signaling to you that that's going to happen, then you're just going to get paper handed out when this thing dips. And that's the honest truth. So if we're seeing even 400% to the upside, that's a $400 million market cap. Now, from the all-time highs, that would just have to do around a 1.5 to 1.7x. That's not that hard. But again, I'm getting into trades like these for quick scalps. If I throw $25,000, $50,000 at this, at these levels, at that entry that I was talking about earlier, right? I would have made a decent amount of money there, which from there I can rotate that into other plays. You don't have to high frequency trade and go and pump fun and gamble your money. That's not my strategy on trading. My strategy is effective and it just completely makes sense to me, which is why when I'm entering into these trades, I have that thesis and conviction and I have that higher hit rate where I'm not throwing my money at 10 tokens and hoping one of them hits. No, I'm getting into all these plays with the intention of winning on every single trade. And I understand that sometimes my thesis might not play out because of other external factors that I cannot control, but I'm getting into these trades understanding why I'm getting into them. Now, if you have that thesis and if you have that information and if you have that line of confidence backing you up, you're going to win majority of the time. And that's what we're going for. We're going for a higher hit rate. You can put your money into other tokens where you're wanting 100x, but I just don't believe that you should be putting a big bag into tokens that are risky or tokens that you're going to be hoping to hit 100x on. That's just not going to happen. And that's how you're going to lose all of your Solana. And that's just how you're going to end up out of the market. The whole thing that you want to do within this market right now, as we see a ton of volume, a ton of upside, is you want to be able to stay in the market as long as possible. That does not mean being profitable. That does not mean being a person that turned one soul into 1,000 soul. That just means being in the market. There's going to be a lot of opportunities coming in within the next 6 months as 2025 is coming right around the corner. There's going to be too many opportunities that we're going to be able to capitalize on. And there's no rush to be able to make a bunch of money today or tomorrow. We can make that money over time, or we can make that money at a different time. When the opportunity presents itself, you have to have your liquidity available to be able to put your money into plays like this, where it's just an obvious trade. The next one I'm going to be getting into is Michi. Michi has seen a lot of mindshare decrease over time, but it's one of those tokens that's backed by the right people. It has the fundamentals. It has that power, and more liquidity is 100% going to be flowing into this token to where I believe that it's going to be able to easily 2x over time. But even getting into Michi, my thesis is not to make a 2x. My thesis is to get into entry levels that I believe are oversold and entry levels that I believe are not deserved, and to be able to get into these entry levels, right? Between the 120 to $100 million range is perfect ranges for Michi, right? Because we've seen Michi been battle tested for the past 7 months. It's been backed by Ansem, by Murad, by a bunch of other big guys, and there's even funds that are deploying capital into this, and they've promised to deploy capital into this. Michi has a ton of upside. Now, in my opinion, it's definitely oversold. And even too, the market makers have drained out a lot of money out of this project, which has put it at these oversold levels. Getting into Michi at $100 million market cap, the upside is amazing. If we were to just see it go to $200 million market cap, that's a 2x. Now, what is it for Michi to get to 200 million? I don't believe it takes much. I believe that it requires a little bit of speculation, maybe a few good days, or maybe even one good day where there's positive sentiment around it for it to get to that level. Now, if you're deploying decent size, or even if you're leverage trading, right, on some of these platforms like Hyperliquid that are completely on chain, or if you're going on Binance, or if you're going on Bybit, where you want to put a 5x long on Michi, that is completely doable. Now, I would recommend for you guys to be careful when you're trading with leverage and have proper risk management and proper stop loss strategy, obviously, so you don't lose all your money. But even if you were to trade with leverage here, you can throw $1,000 on 5x leverage and you have $5,000 in asset value or in margin value. And if you make a 2x on that, you're up $5,000, right? So all of this is super possible. And again, I'm not saying that this is going to pan out for every single one of these tokens, because I'm showing you guys mid-cap meme coins. Any of these meme coins can fizzle out and die out. And my honest opinion is that that's going to happen to some of these. And some of them are going to see upside for sure. So the next thing I want to go over is Barsic. Barsic has been very viral over the past November. It was very viral. And today we saw a lot of upside on Barsic. Now, this is just something that I want to show you guys. Or as this completely panned out within like the past day, we can see that Barsic saw those oversold levels, right? It completely was oversold. It was down like 90 something percent from all-time highs. If I were to pull up the chart here and bring it down from all-time highs, like Barsic was down 90%, which is crazy oversold levels for a token with these fundamentals. And obviously too, it was oversold because, in my opinion, the team sold a lot of the tokens and they created this downside. They created this selling pressure and fear. But once it saw these levels to where we just see consistent downtrend, obviously you don't want to catch the dip, or you don't want to properly try to perfectly time the dip to where you're throwing all your money at one time. But if you were to dollar cost average on the way down and then find these sentiment levels to where people believe it's just completely oversold, or people believe that, it's done, that's the time when you want to deploy your capital, when people are saying that it's dead, or when people are not looking at it. When people are not looking at these coins anymore, when they're at these crazy oversold levels, this is when you want to take a little bit of a risk. You want to throw in a nice little small bag, maybe you throw in a couple $1,000s, and you see yourself some upside, right? Even if you were to sell at a 50% gain, that's a $50 million market cap. Now you see yourself at a little bit of a more higher take profit level. You see yourself at a 70% gain within 1 to 2 days, which is super crazy, because again, you're not going to see these higher risk to reward ratios on any other tokens that are out in this market right now. It just doesn't exist. And it's also going to take you longer to get back your capital. So that's why I tell people, have your money set aside to gamble on pump fund tokens and whatever, these lower cap tokens, but have that as a very small part of your portfolio. You should be allocating a larger size to your portfolio, or at least, a bigger size than what you're gambling with, to these types of plays where the risk to reward ratio is very low. And if you have proper stop loss and proper risk management strategies, you're not going to get wrecked, right? You have a lot of upside on things like this. And this is why I want people to put these projects on their watch list. So when it does have those really red days consistently, you can get into these and you can dollar cost average on the way down. The next thing I want to get into is Zerobro. I don't have much to say about this one, but again, I just want to pull up the chart so you guys can take a look at this and just see it for yourself, right? Same thing panned out here. We saw a lot of oversold levels. We see a lot of sentiment on Twitter hasn't changed. None of the factors changed around Zerobro. There wasn't anything crazy about it. We can see right here, it hit my exact bottom. I literally called this in one of my last videos. I said, this is the time when you want to start allocating money into Zerobro between these levels. If you were to buy it at this exact line that I drew this line before. I literally just pulled up this chart and this line was already there, as you guys can see, right? If you were to have a little bit of upside there, if you were to throw some decent size as you were dollar cost averaging on the way down on these levels, you would have been up, right? 50% within one day. So that's why I want you guys to take a look at these and set yourself proper levels to where you guys can start entering into these tokens. And in my group, Mashallah group, which I'll leave the link down below for that, I'm basically setting these entry prices that I believe are good, and the other traders in there are setting entry prices where we believe it makes sense to start dollar cost averaging into these tokens to have that upside. And again, you can leverage play this with smaller capital. You can allocate a spot, or you can go ahead and buy in with spot, right? Just buy in 1-for-1 token. And if you put $10,000 into this, you have some great upside. How much more are we going to see Zerobro drop, right? The only downside to this could be 2 different things or 3 different things. Something happens with Zerobro and it just gets completely rugged, or something happens to the downside with Solana and we see a drop off in Zerobro, which that is just another buying opportunity for us. Or maybe one of the biggest holders of Zerobro gets hacked or their wallet gets drained and their tokens just sell. We've actually seen that a lot with Pepe coin, not the actual Pepe, but the Pepe coin, which is a different coin on Ethereum. I'm just going to show this one to you guys and then I'll get back into some other coins. But this is a coin that I've seen multiple times. People are getting hacked, people are getting drained, and the tokens are just being dumped by the hackers. We've seen it too many times with Pepe coin where someone gets hacked and there's a huge sell-off and people instantly eat up on those candles, right? We've seen it here. I believe we saw it here as well. There's just these massive candles where people sell off. We saw it here. I remember this day, someone got hacked. So you guys can easily profit on these quick 1 to 5 day scalps where you guys can make these trades. You're gonna have a way higher hit rate doing this than trying to trade these shitters on fucking pump fun. That's just not my thing. Yes, I have my fun with it. I indulge in it. It's fun sometimes, but I allocate a very small amount of my capital to that. So definitely make sure you guys are watching these charts and putting these tokens on your watch list. The next one is ALK. This is a newer one, so I want you guys to watch this token as it stabilizes over time because it is a very new token. There's a lot of people who have made a lot of money on this that have not liquidated. So make sure you guys are taking your time and watching this chart for the next week or so. This token's only been out for 6 days, but there's a lot of positive sentiment around ALK, right? We see it right now. It's at a $50 million market cap. We are going to see downside on ALK, right? It ran up super quick within a couple of days. We are going to see downside on ALK. And that's when you want to wait for a proper entry level, right? If I were to go ahead and say here, and again, I'm just making up a hypothetical situation, but I want to start buying into ALK anywhere from 35 to $25 million market cap. When it hits those ranges, that's when I revisit and I look at the token and I say, hey, have any of the factors changed? Have any of the community sentiment changed? Has anything changed? And if the answer is no, and if they've actually gained more levels on why I should be convicted into the project or more factors on why I should be convicted into the project, then maybe I might want to enter into these ranges. So it's all about listing out those factors and being organized and being in a group like Mashallah group, which I'll leave it down below, where we're listing out all these different factors. And we're basically telling each other why we should be buying into certain things and why we should be looking at certain tokens and by which conviction level should we be interested in this token at, meaning how much money should we throw at this thing. So make sure you guys keep these in mind. This is a strategy that not a lot of people talk about because everyone's all about making these quick gains overnight and not actually doing the work and not actually being patient and not actually making the proper trades with proper risk management with real theses and conviction on why we're buying into them. You can never be successful if you don't understand why you're buying into these tokens. And if you are successful, that is just straight luck. You probably have better luck going on blackjack and just slapping it all on one hand and going all your money on one hand. You have way better luck doing that than just trading on Pump Fun. On Pump Fun, no one fucking wins. There's 100,000 people every day on Pump Fun. Very few people are able to win. And by these strategies that I'm showing you guys, your win rate is going to be a lot higher and your allocation for your capital is going to be a lot more preserved doing things like this. So that's all I wanted to go over today. Make sure you guys look at Mashallah group. Make sure you guys join groups where you guys can talk to other people and you guys can go over these types of tokens and go over your theses and list out your factors on why you believe certain tokens are going to do well. I'll leave the link down below for all of that. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope that this is of value to all of you.